What's up everybody? So in today's video I wanted to go over 5 things every single R35 Nissan GT-R owner really needs to do to their car to just take the GT-R to the next level. All the stuff I'm going to talk about today in total is less than 2,000 bucks, and for the pricing of this car and for what you're going to get with those kind of mods, it is insane. So I have 5 things on the list. The first 3 are actual performance modifications. Number 4 on the list is more of a flaw with Nissan that most GT-Rs have this issue, some don't though. And then number 5 on the list is actually 3 things together, but each of them alone weren't enough to be one category. So technically we got 7 things for you, but it looks better saying 5. So here are 5 things you got to do to your GT-R. So number 1 on the list, and you saw the thumbnail already, that has to do with the exhaust system. For whatever reason, the stock GT-R is probably one of the worst sounding supercars in the world. For a car that destroys Lamborghinis, McLarens, Ferraris around racetracks in every single performance settings, a car that has the same 0 to 60 time as a Bugatti Veyron, it sounds like nothing. So here's a quick clip of the car in the bone stock form. And then for about $700, you can add an upgraded mid-pipe. Now, here is the stock mid-pipe on the car. You have 2 catalytic converters and then a muffler. Now, the way the layout is for the car, you have your down pipes, which are your primary catalytic converters. Those are bolted right to here, and then we have another pipe that goes back into the muffler section of the rear end of the car. So already you have 2 cats bolted to the turbos, which have your O2 sensors. These secondary cats don't have any sensors. So removing this, no check engine lights come, and you're taking away a lot of restrictions getting these cats out of here. And then a muffler, which is just another way to silence the exhaust. That thing is such a restriction within the stock setup. And the crazy thing is, like I said, for about 700 bucks, you can get yourself a mid-pipe. I ended up doing a resonated mid-pipe as my first mod for this car. I did that like 2 weeks after I bought it. It was a lot different than the stock mid-pipe that you just saw. There was no big muffler. Instead of having the 2 cats, it just had 2 resonated portions, which are just straight through mini mufflers, really. The car sounded really good, so here's a quick clip of that. As you can see, that's a huge difference for just a mid-pipe. It only took maybe 40 minutes to install, and you can also get them without resonators, so it can just be a straight mid-pipe. So if you do have a GT-R and you're not happy with the stock sound, for 700 bucks, less than an hour worth of work, you can make it sound really, really good. It doesn't sound loud or crazy like an obnoxious loud car, but it sounds good enough to where you look at the car, you feel the performance of the car, it sounds the way it should be. So for number 2 on the list, this is something I really never thought I would do, but that is tuning your car. This is the Cobb access port. This is a portable tuner. It takes no time at all. You plug it into the car, flash the ECU, you save all the stock data on this, so I can 100% remove the entire tune and put the car's computer back to the stock configuration. If you buy it without the transmission mod, this is like $600-700 bucks, which again, everything's about $600-700 bucks for the normal basic bolt-ons for this car. You already have tunes on it. You can get stage 1, 2, 3 maps. And right off the bat, you're able to adjust the way the car performs. And when I first did the installation of this, all I had on the car was the exhaust system. So a mid-pipe back exhaust, my full Armatrix exhaust, stock downpipe, stock size intakes, and I ran a stage 1 setup. And already the car woke up so much. Now the one thing with this GT-Rs, they're fast out of the gate. They're a very, very, very fast car. First, second gear, anything slow speed from like 0 to 60, 0 to 100, this thing is one of the fastest cars out there. The downside with the stock car, which I never thought I would even say this, it's not that fast if you're in higher speeds, higher gears. So if you're going 50 miles an hour in 3rd gear and you pin it in the stock car, it's quick, but it doesn't perform the same like if you're in 2nd gear at 30 miles an hour. So the higher speed stuff isn't really that impressive. If you're in 4th gear going on highway speeds, there's not really any power. It's not that fast. Once the car was tuned and you pin it in any gear, it had a lot of acceleration. It truly blew my mind, just a basic tune. So now we move on to the 3rd thing on the list, which is your air intakes. Now, when I first did the tuning, I said I had a stock size intake. Doing the 2.75 inch air intakes, it added a little bit of power. I wouldn't say it was a night and day difference, like I could really tell so much horsepower. There was just a little bit sharper like throttle response, and then there was more intake sound. So it was worth it. But with the tune, if you're planning on at least doing a $600 Cobb access port, do 3-inch air intakes. That is oversized. These are bigger than stock. So if I had no tune running this intake, I would have a check engine light because I'd be getting more air than the car is used to. It'd be running lean. But since I have the tuner, I was now able to run the full stage 2 map, which is what I'm currently on right now. Oversized air intakes, mid-pipe back exhaust. And I was blown away after doing that. With the bigger intakes and the stage 2 tune, like the power was unreal. In fourth gear on the highway at 70 miles an hour, I can pin the throttle and it literally pushes you back in your seat just like you're in second gear at a slower speed. It is that fast. In sixth gear on the highway, I can give it gas and the car takes off. Oh my gosh. Wow. Fourth gear at 70. That is so quick. That is unreal. That is awesome. So that is it for the 3 performance mods. The next thing that you really should do, now not every GT-R has this issue. I think it's like the first few years up until 16, but if you look at your stock brakes, you have the pins right here that hold in your brake pads. On the bottom, the stock setup does have a retainer spring that holds the pin in securely. On the top, from the factory, Nissan does not install that spring. Made a whole video on this, but this pin ends up rattling around. It literally sounds like loose chains jingling. It sounded so bad. I thought my wheel bearings were shot. I thought my wheels were gonna fall off. I had no clue what the issue was. I learned that it's the pin just rattling around. It's only secure on the back end, so the front end is just wobbling within the brake caliper, and it just made a horrible sound. You can see it wiggling. Well, obviously this one is nice and tight. I think it was $100 for those springs right from Nissan. Took like 10 minutes to install. I have a whole video on it showing how to do that, but a lot of the GT-Rs do have that issue. They just don't put them on it from the factory. I have no understanding why they would do that. 15 or 16 and newer, they put them back on. Every car has those springs top and bottom, but Nissan decided to only do it on the bottom. So now next on the list, the 5th thing you should do to your car, and this is kind of a few little things all lumped in together into one thing. First up is this red pinstripe up front. I think it adds a lot of character to the front. When I first did this, a lot of people really liked it. And a lot of people ask if that is factory. That's just a red pinstripe I bought from Advanced Auto. It was like $5 for a 30-foot roll. And then as we go to the rear, I feel like the stock car, it's a cool looking car, but the bumper is a little plain looking from the rear. So for not too much money, I did matte black vinyl on this portion of the bumper. There's already a natural body line around the whole bumper here, and having this a different color than the paintwork, I think just added a lot of character. It really made the shapes of the rear end come alive, because this is a slight indentation as you notice on your own cars, but I think having that in the vinyl wrap just makes it look really cool. It costs pretty much nothing. It took no time at all. And of course you could do whatever color. I think the matte black looks really cool. Gloss black is also a good option. But I think doing those black just adds a lot to the rear. Really makes you focus on the taillights. Of course, if you have cool exhaust tips or something, I think it just adds a lot to it. So then moving on for another very inexpensive thing is something that I've kept in the car since I bought it, which is a portable jump starter. But this thing can be literally a lifesaver. So what we have in here is actually a battery, and this thing can even charge your phone, your camera. It has USB ports in it, a built-in flashlight and strobe light. It's very easy to use. The things I keep are the actual charger to plug it into my wall to charge it. And then right here, these are jumper cables. So this plugs into this battery unit, and these go on your battery. You turn this thing on, give it like a minute or so, and your dead battery car will start right up. Now it's funny, when I bought the car, it got delivered to me with a dead battery, and I charged the car for like an hour, drove it around for a day. The next day, trying to start it up, it was dead. Used the jump starter, started up the car. Later that day, after I had driven the car quite a bit, I went to get a haircut at like 9 o'clock at night. I was the last appointment there. When I was leaving in the parking lot, I was the only car left, nobody around, and the car was dead. Hooked out the jump starter, roared to life. But I would definitely recommend looking one of those up and getting one and keeping it in your car. And then the last thing, which I think every single car person should absolutely have in their car, is a fire extinguisher. Now that was $13 at Walmart. Took pretty much no time to install it. I just built a little bracket, so I hooked it to the front of the seat. Now, a lot of people give me crap about this because they think it's in a horrible location. I like the location because if you look at like the Lamborghini race cars and stuff and Ferraris that have them in the stock form for even road cars, they put them in the footwell, which I think looks really cool. But as you guys have seen, people's cars have burnt down. We've seen a McLaren Senna burn to flames, a brand new Nissan GT-R burn to flames a few years ago. The littlest things, whether it's an electrical issue, whether it's leaves getting in your exhaust or brakes or something, your car can burst into flames and literally be destroyed. A fire extinguisher could save your life, could save someone else's life. Could even save your car, which is also important. But if you only have like a water bottle with you, you can only fight a fire for so long. Having a real fire extinguisher can literally do so much for you. So I like having that fire extinguisher. Mike keeps one in his R8 as well. It's just something really nice to have. It costs pretty much nothing. So that is something you really should have in whatever car you have. But that and the jump starter, those are really good, just safety precautions and things to have in your car in general. But that wraps up 5 things every R35 GT-R owner really should have. The performance mods in the beginning are night and day difference with what this car can do. I definitely recommend them. But that is it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget, we have new merchandise in the description below. Check it out, link is right down there. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Give it a huge thumbs up, smash the subscribe button. See you guys next video.